our virtual goal setting and vision boarding workshop. My name is Liz Willis.
And I'm Stephanie Willis.
And we are so excited to have you here today to work on setting some goals for the new year and work on your vision board. So in this little workshop, we are going to take you through a series of activities to identify your goals. And then we're going to talk about some tools and strategies to make it more likely that you will achieve those goals this year.
After that, we're going to take a look at those goals that we set and create a vision board that is simple and effective and will help us follow through with our goals for the year. Okay, to tell you a little bit more about myself, I mentioned before my name is Stephanie Willis and we're sisters, if you haven't figured that out yet. I am an elementary literacy and media specialist in northern New Jersey. Something that I wanted to share with you about goal setting was a little story. Last year at this time, so 2020, around beginning of January, I was a library media specialist in an elementary school, wedding calligrapher and wedding florist who was also running local events for women in the town that we live in. And as the pandemic hit, obviously, my event planning, floral business, completely was upended. And I had to completely reestablish what my goals would be for the year. And, if you're really intentional about your goal setting and flexible for sure, you can achieve a lot. So since March, April, May, I started a literacy Instagram, which is possibly one way that you found our course. And I took that from literally nothing to having over 11,000 followers in just a matter of months. And the way that I've achieved some success with that has been because of intentional goal setting and vision boarding.
Awesome. Yeah. So a little bit about me. I am a speech therapist and behavior analyst. Did we say we live in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we both live in New Jersey, in the Morristown area. And I have been working from home for the past couple of years as a speech therapist. I work for a company in Pennsylvania and also have a private practice. So I think kind of similar to Steph, I'm used to setting goals and trying to achieve those goals and being really kind of systematic about how I'm setting goals for my year. And then last year actually was the first time that I took a vision boarding workshop and completed a vision board. And I think it just kind of sets you off really on the right foot for the new year. And we actually did a live vision boarding workshop yesterday. And that was really cool just to kind of hear everybody else's goals, hear kind of their intentions for the year. And it was just a really positive environment. And I think that made us just want to kind of create this course so that other people can go through the same activities and the same procedure that the process that we did in order to set our goals and create our vision board. So that's why we're recording this today.
Yeah. So we are going to get started with our first activity. Our first activity is called My Perfect Day. You will find, or you can find, the My Perfect Day and a workbook that we created in our Teachers Pay Teachers store. We'll link it below. So it kind of walks you through, you want to show it? The entire course. If you don't have the opportunity to download this or access to a printer, you can just use some loose leaf paper. But if you do want to download it, it'll kind of set you up really nicely. But as I mentioned, our first activity is called My Perfect Day. And My Perfect Day is actually adapted from this book called Love Your Life, Cultivating Your Vision and Tending Your Dreams. I actually was given this book by a parent of one of my students, Cheryl Markdown, who wrote it. It was a really great activity. It's like an activity book. You go through a series of activities similar to what we're doing today, but to really kind of get you some clarity on the perfect life that you want to live. So hence My Perfect Day. What you are going to do with My Perfect Day is just kind of brainstorm what you would like your typical day to look like from start to finish. We're going to pull up a slide in just a minute to really give you some of the guidelines for this activity. Okay, so activity 1, My Perfect Day. If you could plan your perfect day where you have your dream job and your dream life, what would that typical day look like? Describe your day from the time you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. What would you be doing? Okay, so you've just gone through your activity of dictating what your perfect day is going to be. I'm going to share my perfect day with you, and what's really funny is Liz and I were doing this activity, actually not even together, but at the same time, different places. And we actually came up with a very similar vision for what our perfect day would look like. So my day, I'm an early riser, would be to wake up at like 7 a.m., go to hot yoga or walk my dog or both. Then spend a few hours at a coffee shop doing some work. And that work I haven't like totally defined yet, but I know that in my perfect day or typical day, I would be working for myself. So 2-3 hours at a coffee shop because I love the vibe, on my own, or, maybe with company, but.
I thought we were.
Well, yeah, we'll be at the coffee shop together. But like kind of, we possibly working on some projects together, or some projects independent of one another. I'll head home for lunch and then continue working for 2 or 3 more hours at my house. I'm a big grocery store goer. I love the grocery store, unlike you.
Yeah, that is absolutely not.
I like to pick out my dinner daily, which probably is not good for my food bill, but so head to the grocery store, get home, make dinner, have a glass of wine, put on some Sam Smith radio on Pandora, and then watch some TV with my significant other, and then read before I go to bed. I like to go to bed early, probably like 9:30, 10ish at the latest.
Yeah.
And that is my perfect day. So I also want to tell you that obviously right now I'm working as a K-5 media specialist. I am not yet at my perfect day, but when I goal set each year, my hope is that I get closer and closer and closer to this perfect day. I knew it wasn't going to be one of those things where like in a snap I can just have this, but it allows me to be really intentional when I'm setting my goals. I'm like setting myself up for this perfect day.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite activities, I think, in the workshop. And I feel like the feedback was that a lot of people who participated like still wouldn't allow themselves to like really imagine their perfect day, and felt like, oh, okay, well, like I definitely have to do this and this and this, but like really try and think about what an ideal day looks like for you. And again, like not like it's going to be your ideal day that you're going to execute tomorrow, but maybe it's something that you're striving for in the next few years. So
yeah, and like give yourself the things that you want. Like definitely like allow yourself the time to have the things that you want in your perfect day. I know that's kind of what you said, but yeah. One girl who took the workshop with us said that she put all of the things for herself toward the end of the day, because if she didn't get to them, it was just like, it's okay, like she just won't do it for herself, but she was constantly doing things for others throughout the day. Yeah. So making sure that you have a balance in that perfect day. So if you want to revise your perfect day that you've already done and like throw a few more of those in there, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I think it's good to kind of go back and think about it a second time
too. Yeah.
It also made me think of this podcast that we just started to listen to, The Not So Wimpy Entrepreneur, which was recommended to me by a colleague, about this woman who her goal was, I think it was in 2020, her goal was to reach $2 million in revenue by working 20 hours a day. So
20 hours a week.
Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, 20 hours.
20 hours a day would be a lot.
That would 20 hours a week. But yeah, you might as well dream big on your perfect day.
Why not?
So like, really try and manifest, your dreams. Okay.
Right.
Brain dump.
Okay, so our next activity, you also have a page in this workbook, or if you have loose leaf, that's fine too. You're going to do an activity called a brain dump. This is where you're going to freely dump out all of those goals and ideas, those things that you've probably already started thinking about, but maybe haven't written down as goals for this upcoming year. So we're going to share a slide with a little bit more details, and then we'll give you some time to work on that. Perfect. Activity 2, brain dump. Make a list of all the things you'd like to accomplish or do in 2021. These can be very broad. Example, spend more time playing with my kids, start a podcast, or very specific, like wear my retainers every day. Let yourself freely identify these goals and write them down. Try not to overthink it.
Okay, so we thought we would share just a few goals from our brain dump. So again, I think we mentioned this, like a lot of our goals are shared goals. So some goals that I have are to put out one podcast episode a month. So we both
we do that
do
together.
a podcast together. It's called the Language and Literacy Collective if you're interested in listening to a podcast. So one episode per month. I think last year we just kind of like started the podcast game and weren't as intentional as we probably should be. So that's our goal, is to do, one podcast episode a month. Other goals are we want to create a course together. And then I have some like other obviously personal goals, like doing a morning routine each morning. That's something I still need to kind of establish what that's going to look like. Increasing my water intake. For some reason in the past couple months that's really dropped. And then just like some other goals related to health and wellness, like exercising regularly again. And I have a bunch of other ones, but any that you want to share?
I have some like more abstract goals, which I think is fine. Like less is more. I'm actually reading this book called The Joy of Missing Out by Tanya Dalton. It's live more by doing less. I had a serious case of like FOMO. I always had to go. And, with the pandemic, it really got me to like slow down a ton and realize and prioritize what's really important to me. So I want to continue to do that and, not necessarily like ramp everything back up when things are,
back to normal if
that goes back to normal. But, so less is more, and this is a great book. If you're interested in reading a book, we gotta give you recommendations for everything. I'd like to wear my retainers more. That's kind of like a funny one. Focus on my core relationships, or like my really close relationships even more than I have. I would also like to work on a picture book. I have a few ideas, and just taking the time, breaking that down into what that looks like for the year, I think is something I need to do. Yeah.
Okay, so I think now we're going into SMART goals, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so next we want to talk about how to increase the likelihood that you're actually going to execute these goals. So I think most people set resolutions and goals for the year, and some you accomplish, and then others you may not, and that's okay. But if you really want to increase the likelihood that you're going to accomplish your goals, you can think about modifying your goals to make them SMART goals. So SMART is an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And we'll put a slide up in a second that shows the acronym too. But I think in order to highlight what we mean by SMART goals, it makes sense to kind of just work through a common goal. So oftentimes, we have goals related to health and wellness, right? So thinking about making those goals really specific. So, health and wellness is pretty broad. So we could look at things like exercise. We both have goals for increasing water intake.
Some people might make their goal to lose 20 pounds. Or some of the goals you might have might be to exercise more. Mm-hmm. Something pretty vague.
Or broad, just broad. A big goal, yeah. And even just nutrition, eat healthier, right? That's a very...
It's a great goal.
Yeah, it's a great goal, but it's not super specific. And the more specific we can get, the more likely we are to actually achieve those goals. So we're going to go with the example of exercising. So that's going to be our specific goal. So we're going to say that we are going to exercise. And then we're going to talk about making that measurable. So we want to put, a frequency or a duration on that when possible. So for exercise, my goal is going to be to exercise 3 times per week for 30 minutes each time. So that's kind of the measurable component. And then I want to look at whether or not that's achievable. So at this point, I haven't been exercising regularly at all.
Baseline 0.
Yeah, baseline is 0. I found for some walks, which I'm counting, and you are legitimate. You can count walks as exercise. But yeah, the baseline is really kind of 0 or 1. When I'm talking about making that achievable, we want to make sure that it's realistic, that we can actually
something that wouldn't be realistic for me going from a baseline of 0 would be working out for 30 minutes every single day. I'm just not going to do that, and I'm setting myself up for
Failure, basically.
Failure.
Yeah. So you want it to be achievable. You want to also take a look at the other goals that you have and the other priorities that you have in your life, and make sure that you can fit that, you can fit that into your schedule, and that you can make that a priority. So that's the achievable piece. Relevant is next. So is my goal of exercising three times a week for 30 minutes relevant to my overall goal of health and wellness? So yes. And then time bound is the last one. And in order to kind of think about putting an end time on my goal, so 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 3 times per week is the measurable piece, but then I'm going to set the criteria of for 1 month. And the reason I'm going to do that is so that after a month, I can kind of reevaluate whether or not I have been able to accomplish that goal, or if I need to revise it in some way. So for example, maybe I found that like I just wasn't able to get 30 full minutes in my schedule, but it was more attainable to do, 4 times a week for 15 minutes. So I may revise that a little bit. Or I may have like really met my goal and done awesome with that. Yeah, it's like now it's like a habit, and I want to increase to 4 or 5 times a week for 30 minutes each time. So
I think what's really great about SMART goals is it brings it back into your control. I know, like, we talked about that when we were, brainstorming for this course. Like, oftentimes, like, people will choose goals that, like, they're not in control of. Like, yes. And so, like, you can control making a choice of working out.
Yeah, and kind of to, like, piggyback off of that, like, so an example would be, like, if you do set a goal to lose 20 pounds, right? Like, that you have control over the behaviors associated with losing weight, but you may not hit that target of 20 pounds. So why don't you set the goal a little bit differently and set it so that you exercise a certain amount of times, or certain number of times each week, so that you are looking at the specifics of like your nutrition and all that would go into that, but that you have a little bit more control over, because then, you're likely to meet those goals if they're written differently, and that's like reinforcing it, kind of like keeps you on track. Same thing with like financial goals of like, I'm gonna make like $20,000 in my like side business, like
like my goal of matching my teacher salary that I have right
now.
Well, that's so we talked about this too, like even with teachers pay teachers. I know we probably have quite a few teachers watching this video, as a lot of our following are teachers.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to make X amount of money per month using the Teachers Pay Teachers platform. And then I revised that goal to be, I'm going to put out X number of resources per month, because the more resources I put out, the more likelihood I will have in achieving my monetary goals. But like, I don't really have any control over how many resources I actually sell. So just kind of like rethinking maybe some of the goals that you have written. And that's what you're going to do right now, is take a look at the goals that you wrote in your brain dump and thinking about how you can make them more SMART.
Yeah, so I would maybe do that. We're going to put up this slide, and you can pause the video and then maybe do that for like 1 or 2 of your goals. Activity 3 is to turn 1 or 2 of your goals into SMART goals. So remember, they need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, so hopefully you have taken the time to go through your brain dump and rewrite some of the goals that you have into smarter goals. I'm just going to share one more goal that I have that I created into a SMART goal. So I had the goal of drink more water, and what I decided to do was drink 8 ounces of water per day. And just so you know, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant to my overall goals. And I guess time bound, I want to do it every day of the year, but I guess I can reevaluate after a month. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so the next activity we have is pretty simple, and that is to put your goals into daily, weekly, monthly, and goals that you want to achieve by the year end. So this was really helpful because it kind of like, you just had the opportunity to reorganize your goals a little bit, and then also from your separation of these goals, you can start to identify like what are some of the tools that you might use in order to reach these goals. And the tools may be different based on whether they're daily goals
or weekly goals, or like some of those more broad year-end goals. And we'll talk a little bit about the tools and strategies in a minute, but this kind of like sets you up to identify what tools and strategies will be helpful to you in meeting those goals. The other thing that I liked about this was some of those year-end goals that were kind of like big picture goals. You can take a look at those and then really break those down into steps. Like, for example, you have the goal of writing a book.
Right, writing my picture book. That's like obviously a year-end goal, and it's not quite a SMART goal yet, but what is that going to look like? Am I going to dedicate like an hour every Monday to working on my picture book and then kind of see how it evolves over the course of the year? That's like one way that I could kind of put like a little like strategy in place to start achieving that goal. Maybe it's a goal where I like talk to some other authors and kind of get some ideas as to what the process looks like. So there's definitely some breaking down that I need to do because I have that as a year-end goal. So I kind of need to like really figure out what it looks like a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, so take some time to separate your goals out into daily, weekly, monthly goals, and then your year-end goals. Activity 4 is to break up your goals by daily, weekly, and monthly goals, and then also the goals that you want to complete by the year's end. This chart just shows you some examples of daily, weekly, monthly, and year-end goals.
All right. So you have, at this point, broken your goals into daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Now we're going to talk about some strategies and tools that you can use to meet those goals. So you've already made your goals into SMART goals, or at least have started that process. That is a great tool and strategy to meet your goals for the upcoming year. Some other tools and strategies that you can use are writing those goals that you created into a planner or calendar and really marking out time that you are going to complete those goals or make progress on those goals.
Yeah, so for example, things that we are working on together, like we want to put out one podcast episode a month. There's a lot that, goes into creating a podcast. So we want to make sure that we set aside the time each week to be able to work on that podcast so that ultimately we can publish one episode a month. So we actually scheduled time out every Tuesday so that we can meet together and work towards the podcast episode.
We actually have a planner available for you. We are linking it below. It is a planner that we created that goes along with our workshop, but also has some really awesome daily, weekly, monthly templates for you to kind of build your own planner.
We also really love the goal tracker that it has. It has a day for each day of the month. And then if you have a goal that you're working on every single day, so for example, drinking 8-ounce glasses of water or completing your morning routine every morning, you can have a separate page, a separate goal tracker page for each of those goals and mark off all the days within the month that you completed your goal so that at the end of the month, you can reflect and say, oh, I really hit my goal the majority of the days of this month, or oops, maybe I need to actually be a little bit more intentional about meeting that goal every day for this upcoming month.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see your progress as you go. So some other things that really help is using some tools like apps to help you meet your goals. One app that I have that helps me meet my goal of drinking my 8 ounces of water a day is having a water drinking app. It goes off every 15 minutes and it just says, reminder, time to drink water. And that's something that's really helpful to me. As a teacher, I have very limited time to drink water because if I drink water, then I have to go to the bathroom. And if I go to the bathroom, I have to call someone to cover my classroom. So if you're a teacher, God bless you. But it is really difficult for me to drink water that even when I'm not in school mode, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've had nothing to drink today. So that's really helpful for me. Some other people have water bottles that have drink to here by 9 a.m., drink to here by 10 a.m. and so on and so forth. And it kind of gives you the parameters of reaching that goal by the end of the day. Another strategy that I use is really making the things that I need readily available. So I want to wear my retainers. Where should I put my retainers? Probably on my nightstand or with my toothbrush and toothpaste also.
right before I go to bed. But I also keep a book pretty much everywhere I go. If you know me, I have books, you know that I have books everywhere, but that's very intentional. So I have a book on my nightstand. I have a book in my car. I keep a book in my bag so that I can always be reading, so that I can reach my, reading goals.
Yeah, those are some great strategies. I think another thing that's really helpful in motivating you to complete your goals is to have an accountability buddy or just a group that's an accountability group for meeting your goals. So, a workout buddy or just someone that a close friend of yours that you share your goals with so that you guys can kind of check in on one another and just check in about whether or not you're making progress towards your goals. And then also you can check in with that person to celebrate your successes, which we'll get to in a minute.
So actually a lot of the feedback that we got from our group of women that we worked with just yesterday on this course, in our course reflection, they wrote that they really wanted us to kind of meet together and create an accountability group. And that's something that we're working on. So if that's you, if that's someone who wants to be part of that accountability group, feel free to reach out to us via social media or comment below, and we'll get you looped into that accountability group with us.
Awesome. Yeah. And then lastly is to celebrate your successes. And I think that we are, and as educators and kind of just in general as a society, we're very go, go, go. And we don't take the time to step back and be like, oh, I actually accomplished this goal I've been working towards. And I know you shared an example of that.
Yeah. So yesterday during our course, I shared the example. I had literally probably 4 or 5 days ago at this point, been talking on the phone with my dad, and I've been enrolled in the library media program at a local university here. And I finished my courses back in October, which is hilarious. And this is where it's January. My dad goes, oh yeah, do you have any courses coming up this semester at Seton Hall? And I was like, no, I'm finished with that. I didn't even share with my father, who, by the way, I talk to probably 15 times a day, or my family, that I finished
a graduate
program and got another graduate degree. That took me, and it took me over the course of a year, almost 2 years to complete. And it's I think, yeah, as you said, as educators, and maybe my personality type, I never take the time to celebrate my successes, big or small. It's clearly not big or small.
Right. Right.
But one of the things I've actually seen some really well planned out people do is they actually, when setting goals, they decide how they're going to celebrate those goals at the same time. So that might be something that you want to add into one of the planner pages that we have offered to you, is what are you going to do to celebrate when you accomplish these goals? One of the girls was if I work out X number of times, I'm going to allow myself to get an Apple Watch, and kind of holding these dangling a carrot in front of your nose, to get you to meet your goals. That's something that you can do too. Or it could be as simple as just making yourself a nice dinner or grabbing drinks to celebrate with a friend. It doesn't have to be, an Apple Watch.
Yeah. So hopefully
that might be.
Yeah. So hopefully some of these tools and strategies are helpful to you.
Yeah.
All right. So it's time for vision boarding. Probably a lot of all you've been waiting for, who knows. So we have actually just a few more activities that will lead you into your vision board, but more in the vision boarding realm. So our fifth activity for you today is to start categorizing your goals. So I know goals, you probably said that 1,000 times. But you can go look at the goals that you have written and start kind of thinking about where they fall and kind of grouping them together. So kind of maybe you'll put some health and wellness goals together. Maybe you have some professional goals that start moving together, and kind of see what patterns and themes kind of begin to emerge with your goals. This will help you in your vision boarding process.
Activity 5, categorize your goals. Create categories and place your goals from the brain dump into those categories. For example, health and wellness, professional, family, financial, etc., and see what themes emerge.
Okay, so now that you have categorized your goals, we have a very quick final activity, I think, before we get to our vision board.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. And this is a really simple, fun one. So I did this last year in my vision boarding workshop, and it was also one of my favorite activities, just to identify a word of the year, or multiple words for the year, or a phrase of the year. I think we said words of the year yesterday, and then in our class, our workshop, someone said, "Oh, what about a phrase of the year?" And
I was the one who said,
okay,
"What about a phrase?"
you were the one.
Because I had a phrase.
Okay, good. So just take a look at your goals and see what common themes emerge, and yeah, take a second to do that, and then we'll kind of share our words. Okay, activity 6 is to identify your word or words for the year. You can also identify a phrase of the year if you'd like. Okay, so now that you've come up with your words of the year, we're just going to share ours real quick, and then Stephanie's going to explain how to create your vision board. So my words of the year were happiness, abundance, and expansion.
Mine were hustle, intention, and connection, and then a phrase, less is more.
Yeah, oh yeah, and we wanted to share a few from our workshop because we really liked those too. So one was it was practice over perfection or progress over perfection, and then
the other one I really liked was utilize technology, don't let technology utilize you. So I think which the girl was trying to explain is that so often she would just find herself like scrolling, and she took all of her social media off of her phone so that she only goes to her phone when she needs it, as opposed to it kind of like
controlling her.
Yeah. Which I thought was a good one.
Yeah. Oh, and so once you've come up with your words of the year, comment them below because we want to see what they are.
We'd love to hear what you guys come up with. All right, so are you ready to make your vision board? Finally.
Further ado.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to share my vision board with you really quickly, and then walk you through the process that I took in order to make my vision board. Here is my vision board. I used the planner. I'll show you my hard copy right here. Here is the planner that we talked about a little bit before, the Best Year Yet planner. And one of the pages is your vision board page. So I know this is super far away.
It also comes in the workbook too.
Yeah, it comes in the workbook as well. So you can get it in both places. I decided to use this page in my vision board as the vision board in my planner, and the reason for that was because I use my planner every day, and it's really important to create a vision board and then be able to access it or look at it every day, so it kind of acts as like a piece of inspiration for the year. Okay, so it's now time for you to think about making your own vision board. Some of you might be making a digital vision board, and some of you might be actually making a physical vision board like I did. I know, Liz, you made a digital vision board, and we'll share it with you in just a minute. But if you're making a physical vision board, you might want to grab some of the following materials. You might want to grab some magazines, poster board, paper, cardstock, construction paper, whatever you may have at home. Some different colored markers, scissors, and a glue stick. So if you want, you can pause the video, go grab those things from around your house.
You could also grab like ribbons, stickers, any arts and
like
crafts
fun stuff.
If you're a scrapbooker, like scrapbook paper, stuff like that.
If you're planning to do a digital vision board, take the time to kind of maybe look up Pexels, Canva, and you'll probably want to use a platform like Google Slides or PowerPoint to create it.
I did mine in PowerPoint. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we're not going to go over like the technology piece, but you'll talk a little bit about your process. So, okay, when you're creating a vision board, the first thing that you want to do is identify what your goals are for the year, which you've done plenty of in the beginning of this workshop. The next thing you want to do is start collecting pictures of like photographs or clip art, and also collecting some words that, maybe they have to do with your words of the year, or the phrases, or things just like kind of speak to you. I recommend finding pictures that represent your goals, pictures that inspire you, and pictures that bring you joy. Like you just look at it and you're like, oh, like that makes me happy. And cutting those out, whether it's from magazines, whether you're pulling them off the internet, and just kind of cutting them out, setting them aside, and then eventually, when you feel like you've found the pictures that you want, kind of laying them out on your table, or you can physically start laying them on here and start grouping them in the form of a collage. So I started with, like I had a bunch of self-care pictures, and I started kind of just putting them down in this bottom corner here into like a little group of my liking. And then I started kind of moving on to pictures that inspired me, some that were like travel oriented, money, books, and in the middle, I put the quote, it said, "Love your life." And I also really like, "This must be the place." So like being okay with where you are right now and knowing that you'll get to wherever you're supposed to be.
Be in the present moment.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So organize them how you like them, glue them down, and then you've pretty much created your vision board. You might want to add some of the ribbons, the stickers, whatever you might have. Some people might want to add like their own, maybe you didn't find like your words for the year, your phrases, and you might want to add them on your own. You can do that too with the markers that you pulled out. And lastly, once you've done that, you're going to want to take your vision board and put it in a place that you're going to see it every day. So you can continue to be intentional about your goals and use it as like a reference.
Yeah, a reminder every day. Yeah, so I put mine in a frame and put it on my desk, and then I also copied it and put it as my wallpaper background in my phone.
And that's like such a great strategy. I love that.
Every time I picked up my phone, which was a lot, I was like, oh yeah, I have all these goals for the year. So, so then I created a digital vision board, and I personally used PowerPoint, but you could also use Google Slides. You could use, there's a free, what is it called? Graphic design website called Canva. So you can create a vision board there. But yeah, I just basically visited my favorite website for pictures, and that's pexels.com, pexels.com. And just pulled a bunch of photos that I liked, that kind of aligned with my goals, or that again brought me joy, resonated with me, and then I just dumped them all onto my PowerPoint all at once, and then I went back and kind of resized them and organized them. I didn't do necessarily the categories. I just kind of pulled in a bunch of pictures and put them up kind of in just a random collage. So I'll show you that in a minute. So here is my 2021 digital vision board that I created in PowerPoint.
All right, without any further ado, activity 7, create your vision board. As I mentioned, there's no wrong way to create a vision board. Consider using a digital vision board or creating on a poster or cardstock. Keep in a place that is visible to you every day.
Thank you so much. We hope that you had an awesome time goal setting and being really intentional about what your year is going to look like, and creating a vision board that will inspire you to complete those goals this year, and be really connected and intentional in the upcoming year.
Yeah, and so as we mentioned, we have the digital planner for sale in our Teachers Pay Teachers store, so we will link that below. The workbook pages will also link. We'll put out our social media accounts. So my account is Communication and Behavior Solutions. It's COMM_behavior_solutions. I went with a really simple name. Maybe rebranding in 2021. And then yours.
I'm at the literacy party. So connect with us on there.
Email us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope all your dreams come true.
Yeah.